In the second half of 1918, the tide of World War I turned against the Central Powers. The German spring offensive collapsed in July, followed by the Austrian offensive on the Italian front. In mid-September, the Entente broke through the Macedonian front, and Bulgaria surrendered on September 29, and Austrian military situation became untenable. Over the course of the war, although Romania and Italy were promised large territorial concessions, there were differing opinions over the future dismemberment of Austria-Hungary. In January 1918, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson's 14 points only demanded autonomous development of nationalities. Following failed attempts to negotiate a separate peace, and the growing influence of Italian-backed Czech and Southern Slavic demands, plans among Entente leaders increasingly leaned towards the monarchy's dissolution. By summer 1918, the Entente recognized the Czechoslovak National Council as the future government of an independent Czechoslovakia, so Austro-Hungarian peace offers based on the 14 points were rejected. As a final measure to salvage his empire, on October 16, 1918, Emperor Charles published the Volga Manifest, declaring the federalization of the Austrian part of the empire, and legitimized the formation of national councils. But this only accelerated the collapse. By the end of October that year, most national councils would declare their secession, including the Austrian Germans themselves. On October 17, in Hungary, the third government of Sanderwekel abolished the 1867 compromise, only retaining a personal union with Austria. On the same day, former Prime Minister István Tisza declared the war was lost in front of Parliament. Sanderwekel resigned on October 23. Emperor Charles nominated Mihály Károlyi as Prime Minister to stabilize the situation, but changed his mind following the advice of prominent Hungarian politicians, like nominated Joint Foreign Minister Gyula Andrássy. Therefore, no new Prime Minister was nominated until October 30. In the meantime, Archduke Joseph August of Austria was named Homo Regius, Governor of Hungary. On October 24, the Entente launched its final offensive on the Italian front. Hungarian units of the disintegrating army flooded the home front, destabilizing the already precarious situation on the streets. On the evening of Sanderwekel's resignation on October 23, 1918, the Hungarian National Council was established, made up of opposition forces, most prominent among them Mihály Károlyi and his Party of Independence. It also included Oskar Jász's Radical Party and Erno Gerami's Social Democratic Party of Hungary. They set up their headquarters in Hotel Astoria in the center of Pest. On October 25, a soldiers' council was established by Flight Lieutenant Imre Cherniak. He was then nominated by the National Council to chairman of the Committee of the Armed Forces on October 27. By then, protests erupted in the streets of Budapest in favor of the National Council, demanding the nomination of Károlyi as Prime Minister. On October 28, the crowds attempted to march on Buda Castle, but were intercepted and fired upon by the police while crossing the chain bridge. This left 3 dead and 50 injured, and only antagonized the angry crowds. Jászá Lukács was tasked to keep order in Budapest, although he was firmly set against the National Council. His forces quickly deserted him, rendering him powerless to stop the revolution. The boiling point came on October 30, when the emperor nominated János Hajduk, an establishment politician, as prime minister. Soldiers gathering on Gizella Tér swore oath to the National Council. They tore off the rose on their caps, and replaced it with an aster, which became a revolutionary symbol. Over the course of the day, the Soldiers' Council took over the strategic points of the city and released political prisoners. On the initiative of communist politician Béla Szánto, they blocked the transport of 2 companies from Eastern Railway Station, who then turned to the revolution and looted the train cars for weapons. Unions halted rail traffic to and from Budapest, telephone exchanges, posts and banks were seized. Lukács himself was arrested. By this point the National Council, which still wanted to avoid a violent confrontation, had lost control of the situation. They stayed in Hotel Astoria, uncertain of the future. On October 31, 1918, at 3 a.m., János Hajduk called the emperor and notified him of his resignation. He was prime minister for 17 hours, the shortest in Hungarian history. Emperor Charles nominated Mihály Károlyi as prime minister, and asked to form a government with the parties of their National Council. István Tisza was assassinated later that day, in his villa near City Park. On November 13, 1918, Charles issued a proclamation recognizing Hungary's right to determine the form of the state and withdrew from Hungarian affairs of state. Károlyi's provisional government proclaimed the Hungarian People's Republic on November 16, 1918, with Károlyi named the provisional president. The Hungarian Royal Honved Army still had more than 1.4 million soldiers when Mihály Károlyi was appointed Prime Minister of Hungary. Károlyi yielded to U.S. President Woodrow Wilson's demand for pacifism by ordering the disarmament of the Hungarian army. This happened under the direction of Bela Linde, Minister of War in the Károlyi government. Due to the full disarmament of its army, Hungary was without any national defense at a time of extreme vulnerability. The Hungarian self-disarmament made the occupation of Hungary directly possible for the relatively smaller armies of Romania, the Franco-Serbian army and the armed forces of the new Czechoslovakia. During the rule of Károlyi's pacifist cabinet, Hungary lost control over approximately 75% of its pre-World War I territories, or 325,411 square kilometers without armed resistance, and was subject to foreign occupation. In March 1919, the republic was itself overthrown by a communist putsch, which established the Hungarian Soviet Republic. Soviet Hungary soon collapsed due to internal turmoil and a Romanian invasion, and, after a brief revival of the People's Republic, the monarchy was restored, with Hungary now being an independent country, in the